of all, thank you for your listening. Okay, there is a difference between speaking and speech. Speaking is more general, right? No, speech is something else. All right, when you deliver a speech, it is composed of two main parts, and that is what we're evaluating. That's what we evaluated this morning. The content and the delivery. All right? Now, in the content of your speech, that is, all right, I want to say that all speeches are persuasive in nature. So you have to persuade the audience, right? So in the first part, the content, that is it is tied up with your motive appeal. What is your purpose? What do you want to happen with your audience and you? What are you persuading them about? The motive appeal, right? So the motive appeal will give you the perspective or the viewpoint on how you are going to discuss the theme or the topic of your speech. Like, for example, going to the Zoom, a child in sports, they probably can have a self-pride appeal, right? And some of the speakers did that. But some of the appeals were not really clear. And you use stories or episodes or anecdotes to share the theme or the topic of your speech. It is not storytelling contest. This is a speech contest. All right? Second, delivery is composed of the gestures and the emotion that accompany your speech. Right? So you are evaluated on your gestures, which you should not overdo. And the emotion, which you also should not overdo. All right? And then the most important thing is when you deliver, your person, your character, we call that ethical persuasion, you are also being evaluated. And that is taken care in the third criterion, which is called deportment. Your facial expression, the way you project yourself on stage, is being evaluated. You don't look depressed. You should not look depressed. You should not look lacking in confidence. Neither should you show a very haughty and proud presence or projection. All right? So that is deportment. You call that deportment. So all these things should be taken into consideration. Now, one of the most important things that I noticed too is that most of you also lost your theme. Like you would begin right, but would end losing your topic, losing your theme, right? So somehow your introduction, from your speech from introduction to conclusion must be consistent with your theme or with your topic. And unfortunately, voice qualities is one thing that you probably don't have a control of because that is probably inborn, but I'm sure that there are seminars or workshops by which you can develop your voice qualities because it is a part of it. It's an X factor. When you have a good voice, you have a plus factor. So, but there is something that you can do about your volume, the intonation, the tone of your voice, all right? And what is another one? Okay, and what am I going to say? Okay, you notice that you're topical or personal. This is one thing that I noticed too. It is something that you own, something that only you can speak, can talk about. So why do you forget? There is something wrong with, I probably presume that you did not write your speech. Because it's very basic. You have to own your speech. Because if you own it, there is no way, well, of course, aside from nervousness factor or fear factor. But without fear, without tense, if you own your speech, you will have a control of the stage. The stage is yours. The stage is yours because you own the speech. And therefore, when you own the stage and you have control of the stage, the audience is captivated. And there is no reason why you would not deliver your speech really well. Thank you very much.